Another U.S. Army soldier has gotten themselves in tremendous trouble. This time, not in North Korea, but somehow even worse. What has this soldier done, and what is the real story behind the staff sergeant who's been arrested in Russia? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's get into it. This story is preposterous, and if you've served in the military, you know exactly all the details of this story before I tell you anything else, right? The overall story is that Staff Sergeant Gordon C. Black has gone to Russia. Obviously, the U.S. government not approving one of its soldiers visiting Russia, and has been detained. And his mother says he might have been set up by his girlfriend. Yeah, whew, man, you think your ex screwed you. At least you're not in a Russian prison. So here's the only picture they have of him. This is him as a private first class, deployed to Iraq in 2009. So he probably enlisted 2009, 2008, which would mean he is in his mid-30s and in all likelihood has, 12 to 14 years of military experience. So not exactly someone charging up through the ranks, but someone who's probably relatively close to retirement. Now, the Army hasn't been official, but what appears to have happened is that this staff sergeant was stationed in South Korea, something pretty normal for most soldiers. There's a large contingent of U.S. Army units in South Korea, and he was discharged and not discharged, he was PCS'd to Fort Cavazos in Texas. Again, normal, routine stuff. So the staff sergeant was ordered to go from South Korea to Texas, packed up his things, and was prepared to set off to Texas. But there was one little thread that he felt he needed to close out before he left. And that is his ex-girlfriend. Now, there's something a little sus about this guy's ex-girlfriend, or current girlfriend, or girl he'd been sleeping with. And the story is that she is a Russian national who is living and working in South Korea. And you might think, what is a Russian woman doing in South Korea? Why is she the girlfriend of a U.S. Army soldier? And how exactly does all this tie together? Well, here's the thing, guys. I'm just going to, okay, we're not going to hide behind euphemisms here. I know sometimes I do that, but I'm just going to be totally straightforward. Prostitution is a large industry near Army bases. Why is that? Well, you can guess. The Army is 85% male, and those males are generally young, right? You're considered old in the military in your 40s. Like you're looking at retiring soon if you're in your 40s. For example, at 42, I would have been put out to pasture by the military, right? That would fit my 20 years and retired. So 38, 39, 40 is old. And so you have a lot of men, not a lot of women. And, especially they're in somewhere like South Korea. The rules are a little laxer. Well, what does that mean? That means that there is a lot of activities. Over here is straight up prostitution. They say, listen, if you want to have sex with me, I'm going to get demonetized for this, but I just can't. Over here is, I'm just going to do it. If you want to have sex with me, the price is $500 or however many South Korean dollars. I don't know what Korea's currency is. But over here is kind of that like gray area where you've got, services. There's some money exchanged, but there's also some unpaid activities, maybe like the gold digger, right? Over here's like the classic gold digger girlfriend. And there's everything in between. Maybe they are kind of your girlfriend. They like when you buy them things, but they see other dudes. There's a whole bunch of complicated things. And what happens often in Korea is that there's phases where around the bases, those women are primarily Korean. But sometimes, especially when the currency exchange rate starts looking really good, you get foreign nationals, particularly girls from Russia. And for obvious reasons, girls from Russia tend to, I'm going to say, earn a lot more money from those soldiers. And the reason is pretty obvious, right? Because if you are a U.S. military service member, girls from Russia, they look a lot like the girls from home. That's the bottom line. That's just how human beings are, right? And so you end up with this population of Russian girls who are looking to get some money. But here's the thing. People are still people. And at the end of the day, if you are someone who is willing to engage in sex work and leave Russia, go to South Korea and engage in sex work with American service members, that selects for a certain type of person. And here's the thing. If you're someone who sees one of these obviously traveling sex workers and comes to the conclusion that they are actually your girlfriend, it's because you are the idiot in that scenario, right? And maybe they're both idiots. It's hard to know. But here's what happened. Ultimately, Staff Sergeant Jones, who, God, should absolutely know better, but he was an infantryman, so, there's that. Staff Sergeant Jones, he's like, she got deported, right? So even old Melody Jones, Staff Sergeant Jones's mom, described the relationship he had with his girlfriend as volatile, right? And she became angry with him after she was deported to Russia. So again, ask yourselves some questions here. Peel back some layers. A volatile relationship with a Russian national? She's angry with him because she was deported to Russia. Why would Korea deport her? Just some head scratchers. They let her in. Why would you deport her? But don't worry. Over the internet, they started talking. They rekindled their romance. She wasn't so volatile. As his mom says, quote, when he, Jones, loves, he loves hard. Listen, that is what you say when this dude's trying to think of how to do this nicely. When a part of this individual gets hard, his brain stops working. That's what's happening here. God, there's no chance this video is getting demonetized. Listen, when even your mom says, listen, when this dude, he thinks with the little brain, not the big brain, there's no neurons firing, right? Jones did not want her son to go to Russia because she had a feeling. His mom, even your mom, was like, listen, I have a feeling, Gordo, something's going to happen to you. It's just a vibe. Listen, you don't need to consult a tarot card reader. You don't need to visit a psychic to know that if you're staff sergeant in the United States Army, even a dummy, you don't go to Russia. I don't know how much more animosity you could have between the two countries. She says, something's going to happen to you. I just know it. It's like, yeah, you're being lured back to Russia by your shitbag ex-girlfriend. You don't need to be in your 60s and be like a wizened old woman to go, son, I suspect something's up. But here's the sad thing. He's a 35-year-old man. 35 years old. And you still just cannot, your brain just won't let you deal with this. And just like, here's the other thing, guys, that really irks me. If you're a staff sergeant and you're a squad leader, I promise you, in the 15 years he's been in the military, he has seen dozens of soldiers meet someone who is involved in sex work, decide this sex worker is actually in love with them, marry or embark on a long-term serious romantic relationship with this sex worker, may or may not have children, may or may not have a wedding, and then realize that this sex worker is not operating with their best interests at heart and is in fact motivated primarily by material gain and selfish motives. I would describe that as a quarterly event for most military units. No shit. Like, no kidding. And so the fact that you're in for 15 years, you're 35 years old, guy. You're the age. Jeff Bezos was a billionaire by 35, right? Like, you know what? I'm trying to see. Like, 35. There's so many people who are just like August. Okay, here you go. Caesar Augustus, right? Mark Zuckerberg was a billionaire several times over. Alexander the Great conquered Macedon. Caesar became a Roman senator at 20 and declared himself emperor, right? Like, here's the thing. Yeah, let's see. Caesar became emperor at what age? Okay. So he died in 55. So I'm going to go ahead and say that by the time he was first consulship, campaigns of Gaul, Civil War. When did he win? He won his Civil War and was dictator in perpetuity, February of 44 BC, which means that old Caesar. Okay. Well, he had at least been a Roman general, and it looks like he was maybe the consul of Rome by the time he was 35. So I point this out because some 35-year-olds have the savvy to become a consul of Rome. But Gordon couldn't even figure out that there was something suspicious about chasing his ex to Vladivostok. Now, here's how stupid this guy must be. One, he told his mom about it, and his mom was like, "Did you get permission from the army?" And he didn't say anything. He was like, he couldn't tell me if he did or he didn't. Like, what? Are you a toddler? Like, one, just lie to your mom, dude. She's your fucking mom. Or just don't lie to your mom and be a man. And just be like, yo, no, this is important to me. The army's never going to approve it. I think they're not going to catch me. Like, just tell your mom that. Of course, your mom's going to be like, you're a flippin' idiot. And common sense mom was like, why don't you meet in Thailand, China, or somewhere else where she doesn't know everything about the local environment? Here's the thing that's even more annoying. Even Russia recognizes that this dude is an idiot. Because you notice that Russia loves to charge basically any American that sets foot in Russia with spying, if they have even the most loose pretext to do so. And the fact is that old Staff Sergeant Black it was so stupid that Russia actually arrested him for domestic violence and theft of personal property. Is that insane? Yeah. Black is accused of beating his girlfriend and stealing 200,000 rubles, or about $2,200, conveniently 1 month's salary of a Russian contract serviceman in Ukraine, from his ex. And of course, Russia itself is treating the incident as a domestic dispute not related to espionage or politics. Which means that this whole thing, even Russia knows, is too dumb to be of value. Now, usually, when Russia detains a service member, they try to get some information out of them. But even Russia appears to know that this idiot is worth nothing. Otherwise, they'd accuse him of being a spy. So we're going to keep you posted as this breaks out. But once again, we remain in awe of the median U.S. Army soldier's ability to cause an international incident by not thinking through a decision. Let me know in the comments if you think there's any hope for this idiot. And be sure to like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks to the Colonel tier members at combatvetnews.com. Uncensored combat footage from the Ukraine war. We do all the deep dive analysis over there. And thanks to all the members. See you in the next one. Cheers.